Literary works have tackled multiple aspects of corporate life based on the time and place where they're set. As a contemporary/historical fiction novel set in Egypt 2011, The Bachelors of Egypt reflects on work conditions and communication within modern Egypt. Unique aspects of the Egyptian society influence the formation of its distinctive corporate life, yet a few elements will always remain constant across cultures. Employer-employee relationship anywhere in the world is formed by multiple economic, social, and political factors that create a mix of conditions for those working in a country. The following is a list of the most influential factors in Egypt 2011 and nowadays: high rate of unemployment, relatively low salary packages, lack of leadership skills, lack of teamwork spirit skills, incompetence resulting from cultural and educational influences, the parenthood notion embedded in the Egyptian culture, employment being the virtue, work-life balance being underrated. They know better. In Egypt, the core values of management are cross-promoted among households, educational institutions, workplaces, and within the broader scope of the nation itself. These links have been established over centuries of social interactions, enabling the powerful sides to gain more influence over the powerless. For instance, some parents may beat their children to make them more obedient as they follow the moral rules set in a family. The same parents may accept violence at school, as teachers may beat or name-call their children for the greater good of helping them become more obedient as they follow the school rules, and more respectful when they interact with their tutors. The same group of people would usually accept regime's violence when defending the nation's values. Oppression within family is usually defended by the idea that your parents know what may suit you better, they know your best interest, and you have to follow their lead to become a better human being. Instead of trying to inform youngsters with the reasons why they should behave in a certain manner, parents get to dictate how they should behave and interact with others. When the same tactic is used by the government, its supporters try to convey a message that the political leaders know better. They don't need to be transparent, as it's not important to tell you why the state's funds are spent in one direction instead of another. They don't need to convince Egyptians of anything, because they know better. This explains why Egypt is ranked 108th among 176 countries by Transparency International. Citizens' lack of access to information like government expenditure or details of international agreements is rarely perceived as an important issue. Parents know better, teachers know better, professors know better, manager knows better, and the president indeed knows better. Nietzsche's views on morality being a tool used by the powerful to control the powerless and dominate a society can be helpful in understanding daily interactions within the Egyptian society, as highlighted in Philosophical Legacy, The Bachelors of Egypt. Let's overload everyone involved. The importance of efficiency led the world to establishing sciences of human resources, spending on research and optimization to gain clues on what will help a group of people achieve. More than a decade ago, Toyota's branch in Gothenburg reduced working hours to 6 hours per day, reporting that it improved employee satisfaction, enhanced productivity, and increased the company's profits. The Swedish government ran an experiment within its departments in the same city to validate the hypothesis that reducing working hours will lead to better performance. Other companies operating within the Swedish market adopted the 6-hour working day model between the years 2014-2016. The debate between psychologists, scholars, economists, top executives has two main sides, one side holding research papers that established a link between long working hours and heart diseases and strokes, supporting the 6 hours working day model. Those on the other side refer to a few psychologists' opinion that shorter working hours may add more pressure on workers who will have to conduct the same amount of work. This form of debate is vital, healthy for a country's economy and its citizens, and absent from a wide range of countries, including Egypt. Due to the country's economic status, many Egyptians have to work 1 or 2 side jobs along with their full-time jobs. Most companies in the private sector may overload their employees, extending working hours to 10 to 16 hours on some days. Competence within the Egyptian work culture is usually measured by the amount of work conducted or even the amount of hours spent working, instead of the quality of employees' output. These long hours could all be spent on useless tasks and meetings. If you don't like it, try applying for an almost impossible immigration to Sweden. As an Egyptian, you're neither Nordic nor European. and the Swedish laws are set to discrimination against people like you, as shown in this article about the absurdity of nationalism. The value of working hard also reflects on sports' life in Egypt, as trainers working for most sporting clubs overtrain youngsters with fitness sessions, believing that more work will help extend their abilities. Some of those trainers choose to ignore the findings of scientific papers in regard to the harms of overtraining, when others are simply ignorant. An interesting example of the overloading syndrome in Egypt is the current president's approach toward new projects. When the head of Suez Canal Institute was declaring the initiation of the new Suez Canal project in a public event, he mentioned that the project's timeline would be 3 years. The president looked at him with a unique smile that was aired on television to showcase the president's firmness, which led the speaker to say, but the president gave us an order to conduct the project in a single year." In another country, with audiences who have a different cultural background, such stunts may harm the president's image. He may be perceived as an ignorant dictator throwing commands at his subordinate without considering the gains of conducting the project over 3 years versus a single year, or comparing the cost associated with the potential increase in profit. In Egypt, among most members of the society, it had the effect of a magical publicity stunt, as the president asked his subordinates to work harder for the greater good of Egypt. In fact, it was a scene of a military officer commanding another military officer. The military code doesn't allow for debates after an order is given. Sisi rules the country as a military unit, and his fans/supporters enjoy watching such scenes. In Chapter 2 of the Bachelors of Egypt novel, Karim Adel narrates one of Egypt's usual work incidents. "We had a stand-up meeting with all department executives, and before assigning tasks, the manager applauded me for getting most tasks executed ahead of the deadlines. I started thinking that this kind of praise would be followed by some sort of a bonus or promotion, until I found it was all about more tasks heading my way." Within the novel, Karim's incident was placed in the year 2011, which marked a series of protests by college students, workers, and employees demanding reforms across the country. Post the 2011 Egyptian Revolution. Revolutions usually bring hopes to the powerless, helping them object to any strategies, tactics, and regulations imposed by the powerful, as long as they're viewed as unfair. Jan's revolution provided the basis for minor revolutionary protests, sit-ins, and strikes in the workplace. Teachers, doctors, handymen formed their own groups of reformists, demanding long lists of needs that were unfulfilled for decades due to widespread corruption and budget shortages. Whether unionized or casually formed, these groups were framed by mainstream media as self-interest seekers, mobilizing groups of people to gain public support in order to achieve better life conditions for themselves. Instead of considering the overall good of the economy, the same tactic has always been used to face similar demands and has helped publicize a nation-serving notion that excludes groups' well-being. The separation of citizens' best interest from the nation's interest is evidently demonstrated in one of the current president's quotes. In one of his long speeches, President Sisi said, "I would like to take all the money in the Egyptians' pockets for the sake of Egypt." The elements that compose Egypt as a country include its land, a ruling regime, a sovereignty of this regime over this piece of land, and of course the citizens of the country. In other cultures, the well-being of citizens is the main factor in determining the well-being of a state. But in Egypt, a country's well-being is measured by its power, which is in fact the power of its regime. Apparently, according to Sisi, Egypt's prosperity isn't the same as better life conditions for its citizens. China, for instance, has the world's third largest military and the second largest economy, exporting almost all types of products to almost all other nations, yet 1/6 of its residents live below poverty line, with an income less than $2 per day. The Chinese government's approach toward economy is apparently different from governments of countries like Denmark, Canada, Australia, where life conditions of citizens as a factor is treated with higher importance. The Chinese scenario could be viewed as a dream for many Egyptian dictators, being able to run rich and powerful government institutions while maintaining influence over the powerless citizens of the country. So far, Egyptian presidents, one after another, have been failing at achieving economic goals in general. Autocracy and incompetence, along with the inability to construct economic strategies, deprive the state from the importance of its regional role. Under President Sisi, 2014-present, government's priorities are set in favor of the regime's dominance. This idea has been continuously portrayed with frequent salary bumps for army and police officers, along with judges. Those are the regime's men, and collectively they form its backbone. These salary increases helped Sisi gain an expected level of popularity among officers and judges, creating long-lasting support for his decisions. When the power of Egypt is already defined by the prosperity of its regime, Sisi's men call for a unified sideline approach opinion stand toward all issues, which implies that you can only be a nationalist by supporting Sisi, and if you are for any reason opposing his regime, you are an enemy of Egypt. Being himself a military figure, among those who supported the removal of 2 former presidents, he pampers officers and judges in order to protect his own presidency. Similar tactics are usually applied within workplaces in Egypt. General managers and chief executive officers tend to empower their own men within their companies. When employees achieve business objectives, they help with overall business growth. When they associate such accomplishments with their manager's support and mentorship, they help brand their managers as successful business leaders. Those who are capable of combining both tactics are considered closest to the next promotion. How are you useful? Would your promotion help me maintain my position? These are the main questions on most managers' minds when considering an employee for a promotion. For people like Karim, the situation was different. He was already working as a senior marketing executive for a multinational company, which is a dream job for most of those who belong to his field. Being placed at the top of the job market doesn't allow you to complain about injustice, and wouldn't really help anyone sympathize with your message. Many of these aspects are common across companies anywhere in the world, and many of them are left out for further elaboration in future articles. For more about Karim and other characters in the novel, review the book excerpt on Amazon.